Checking my audio, video, just making sure I'm audible, visible. I'm opening up my chat. Checking my audio, video. There you go. All right. Well, let me share my screen, making sure everything is okay. Welcome to Unlocking Emotional Intelligence Using Brain Skills. And we are on 69th episode. We're going great guns in completing 100 episodes on learning how to develop emotional intelligence using our own brain power. So in this episode, in this series, we are dedicating to new insights about what is the functionality, what's the brain styles, and how do they approach a situation or a process or a adversity. And by now, if you have been listening to these episodes from the beginning, you know now we have been talking about key skill set about see emotional intelligence is not one skill set. It is a subset of a lot of important power skills. So that is why emotional intelligence as such it is important for 21st century, highly demanded skill set. So it is going to cover, uh, various skills which is needed for you to build your career, be progressive in your career, in your work, or as an individual to be able to combat the challenges, daily challenges, or adversities that we deal with. And especially we are in mental health pandemic, and it is important to have those tools in your hand as a toolkit to be able to navigate those challenges. And we started off looking at resilience, critical thinking, problem solving, innovation, proactivity, agility. We spoke in length about empathy building, emotional insight, and then the last previous episodes were about adaptability, flexible thinking. And today we will be getting into another skill set, okay? For the rest, rest of the 5 to 6 episodes, we will be deep diving into a particular skill set called risk tolerance and how do we face fear, risks, manage them really smart so that we will be able to successfully balance out our outcomes, whether it is at work or in life. So this episode is dedicated to practically everybody because EQ is essential at this point of time. It is needed for everyone across age groups, across location, across culture, across background. On that note, we the entire structure is designed in such a way that we will pick up a particular skill set and we will angle every episode will be angled to different roles, right? For example, when we spoke about resilience in the beginning, we spoke about logical resilience, emotional resilience, and then resilience for parent, resilience for leaders, resilience for entrepreneurship. So similarly, we angle every skill set that we will be discussing in this 100 episodes, we will be angling into different walks of life. Even a student needs to know how to use these skill set to be able to navigate the challenges in their academics, right? Highly competitive, highly fast paced. Everybody needs it. How to manage their stress, how to manage their emotions, any kind of emotions, how do they regulate really well? How do they, first of all, understand what kind of emotions they are going through so that they will be able to read the same in others? Because when we are dealing with people and we are not in isolation anytime, like the pandemic times, right? So we live with people, whether you're a school student who's watching this, of course you go around in school with your friends, with your teachers, with your neighbors, and if you are at home, you will be having people around you, your family, or your neighbors or any strangers that you walk past. And at work, it is essential for you to also handle the process as well as the people around you. So if you are in a high stake professions, it is even more important to handle the clients. And as an entrepreneur, it is endless, right? Because you are there to do business, and the business is for service for your customers. So if you are out there in the market, you're bound to be interacting with a lot of people, whether it could be a vendor, a client, or a customer, or a government employees, or even if you are inside your office, you're still transacting with your team members, right? So a solopreneur like me, even though I am at work from home and doing remotely using my knowledge and be able to build that business that I want, I'm still interacting with my family as well as the clients and of course with my vendors. So it is important to have that skill set going on in you. As long as we are with people, it is important. And even if you're not with people, emotions are within us also. We constantly emote. So it is important that we don't ignore emotional data. So typically, we are talking about brain skills. Brain is divided into two hemispheres, and our functionality of brain is basically logical and emotional, that is creative brain. So how are we going to activate these two brains, bring it to a maximum, to bring it to its optimum, so that it will help us take the blend of both these data? So that is where emotional intelligence can happen, because when you are operating in midbrain, that is where you can take the blend of both the logical data and emotional data. I just explained to you why emotional data is important, because when you are dealing with people or when you're dealing with your own emotions, you need to be aware of what is coming up and how are you channelizing that emotion, and how is it being, purposefully channelized in a way that it is giving you meaningful outcome. So when you're dealing with process, maybe you might say that you're a coding person and you deal with most of the times in your laptop and you're not interacting with people. Either way is you're dealing with your own self, right? So you need to know what kind of emotions that you are going through. And it is not, somebody could be really very good with their own emotions and people's emotion. They could be really, they need that people energy. And that doesn't mean that they're going to avoid they cannot ignore the logical data also. As much as I want to give that emphasis for your emotions, in fact, your emotions is what is driving performance according to the research. But unless it is backed up by logical data, then it has to be an objective approach. So the objective approach can be given by using your logical brain only, because that's going to give you a little bit of structure, framework, and it gives you that meaning objective way to approach things, to come for a resolution. Otherwise you get swayed by that own, the same own emotions that you are holding, or you're getting swayed by other people's emotion. As much as it's going to give you that spark to perform, the drive, which makes you that, gives you that ignition, that action, but it has to be backed up by logical data. So that context is very clear. That is the reason we are doing this series. Okay. On that note, we are going to be discussing about risk tolerance as a skill set, but we are going to expand that into 5 to 6 episodes, angling into different domains. Okay. Let me share my screen, and I want you to know that it is critical. Just a second. I'm just going to share my screen again, making sure. There we go. All right. Okay. So if you're watching me online, just if you're live watching me, give me a hi, hello, or give me a smiley. I will understand. Okay. I'm opening up my chat as well, just to. All right. All right. So my question to you is, what would you do if failure is not an option? We would definitely face that fear, right? We would like to encounter that. We will see how to take that risk to keep moving. So that is how we are going to unlock our fullest potential. So imagine that you are in an unknown zone, that you don't know what is failure and what is success. You just keep walking, right? If it's a jungle, you'll anyway have to figure out, right? So you just cannot sit in one place and die. So we will do that. But because there are society formed and there are goals, milestones, and we are working in different walks of life, we figure out, if you do this way, this is going to be not be working and serving your goals, so it can be termed as failure. And this would be, if it is going to be useful for others, maybe that can be termed as a successful pattern. So who decides failure and success? That's a different subjective question. But in your brain, when you don't have this option, or when you don't have this bifurcation, then we will anyway work with our fullest potential every time, every day, every moment, right? So on that note, fear of what restricts somebody to take that leap of faith or just keep walking through, not having that fear of failure or success, is because that fear of failure, somewhere we have got that um, pattern rewired, hardwired, that we have been labeled, polarized, saying this is what it is and this is how the society demands, because of which we hold back a lot of potential within us. We're not able to reach to that point because we hold it. The fear, the inhibitions, the apprehensions or the past experiences, the trauma holds us back. So this episode is going to guide you to reframe those failure as a tool for growth and learning opportunities, and how you're going to learn from, take that calculated risk without getting overwhelmed by anxiety, because taking that risk is necessarily means that you're walking the unknown. And brain doesn't really get comfortable with change. It's the same way for any human, right? Maybe your brain style likes that adventure, likes that spark of that unknown thing, but the people with you could not be having the same brain style. So you would definitely have some resistance. So it is important to understand that human brain resists change. And that's why in the previous episodes, we spoke about flexible mindset and how it is important to have that adaptability. But it is also important to know, maybe it is already a strength in you, that you have to be mindful that you're not overdoing on it. Because too many changes, too many times you change, that's also going to give you the exhaustion, right? And people around you may not be really interested. Even a small change actually jitters a person, right? It is so very common with everybody, or many of us, even me. I don't like to have change. I was, one time I used to like changes, maybe because, that time it was right from our childhood, school days, college days, and the youth, and we were having that necessary support system and strength to go full on. But essentially, after getting into a responsibility, you might want to restrict yourself. You don't want to go full on with anything, because you would like to take that calculated risk all the time, right? And that is important to have objective approach, because it is important when you have a responsibility, when you have people dependent on you, it is important to assess that risk that you're taking in. So that is why today we'll also take that, learn that importance of starting small and building that confidence through manageable risk. So by the time you want to take that calculated risk, somebody could be elongating that process so much, evaluating that process so much that they don't take action at all. They are missing out a huge opportunity. There could be a lot of loss. So it is also important to take that consideration and bring that awareness that you're not overthinking on it. And you need to act on it to be able to get results, right? If you don't act on it, you might even have the skill set in you. But when you don't put that into action, every skill set just, be here and it gets drained off. Only when it comes to hands and legs, it is out there in action, in as an output. So we are going to learn how to take that calculated risk in a very small and manageable ways. And we're going to take that inspiration from people who have taken that leap of faith, and how has it turned out for them. Okay. We're going to see all that. All right. So first thing is, we're going to make sure that we look at every episode into left brain approach and right brain approach and the midbrain. So in essential, we need to understand what is overcoming fear of failure according to the brain style. So the general definition could be developing courage to take risk despite setbacks, focusing on growth and learning opportunities. The left brain approaches using logic to analyze risk and potential rewards, approaching decisions with confidence. I want you to notice the key words in here. You're going to, if you are approaching your left brain, which is your logical brain, you're going to use logic to analyze risks and potential rewards. So you're going to use logic to analyze. If you're using these keywords, that means you're using your left brain. Okay. So, and then approaching decisions with confidence is your output from your logical brain. But when you're approaching with your right brain, you're going to tap into your emotional resilience to embrace uncertainty, viewing setbacks as learning experiences. Now, again, the key words here is emotional resilience, embracing uncertainty, viewing setbacks as learning experiences. These are your emotional brain kicking in. Okay. Now, the key message here is, consider this as opening doors for you. Overcoming a fear of failure opens the door for new opportunities. You're going to see that, reframe that this way. And thereby, you're going to take calculated risk, which can lead you to growth and success. Inaction is not a guarantee, but acting on something, even if it's not going to be the 100% perfect, but at least you're taking that risk, right? That will eventually give you the stepping stone for you to reach the higher success. But if you're not, you will end up stagnating. okay, then you will be lost in the game already. Then it is also helping you personally develop, because by embracing uncertainty, it also gives you that personal and professional development. You will build your self-esteem. By the time you want to embrace that risk and just keep walking past, and you will somewhere attain that goal, right? When you look back, you must have walked that path with some courage and confidence, some conviction. So that will raise your self-esteem and confidence. So you can refer back the same winning or mastery experiences for you to be able to adapt and apply in future, events. So that is how you develop yourself. So I would also want you to give advantages of you overcoming fear of failure, as much as you have to be aware of not to overdo on it. Okay, because there could be some brain styles who are very, very much ready to jump in to the uncertainties. That's how their brain style definitely works, because they're high on right brain, right? I'm going to give you some awareness to balance it out. Okay, so the first benefit is, when you can overcome the fear of failure, it gives you the confidence. It increases the confidence. It's going to help you develop greater self assurance in decision making by facing fears head on. And it also helps you personal growth, growing beyond your comfort zone and discover your fullest potential. And it also gives you better opportunities, pursuing opportunities that others may avoid due to risk. You will be a person who will tap into those opportunities because you are ready to overcome your fear. And not many of the, if you take the 100 sample of people, hardly 20% will be able to walk past that risk. Okay, they will be able to plunge into that risk. And out of the 20%, there's 80-20% how it works, right? And out of the 20%, only the 20% will actually walk towards the winning line. So it is very important to note that you walking through that fear of failure is in the journey, not in the outcome. Okay. So you may not necessarily fall into that 4%, but it is important for you to walk past that 20% of that, 80% of that failure, so that you will reach that 20% of success in your own individual goals. Okay, whether or not we are contributing to the we are falling part of the herds, right? Because it is important that people are having a fear of missing out a lot of things right now. It's called fear of FOMO. It's called fear of missing out. So that comes only when we are not feeling belonging to a particular herd of people who are actually doing something which is not serving our goals. So in that case, we go misaligned. So it is important to know what you exactly need, and you got to keep taking actions for what it is. And it is also important, there are endless distractions. It's going to anyway happen. And that too in this social media era, there's going to be boundless distractions. Gadgets is taking over our space and time, big time. It is invading our privacy between couples, between family members, and at work also. There are a lot of distractions everywhere. How are you piercing through? And it is already going to add the fear of failure in you. This fear of missing out something is also adding up. There could be a lot of other fears lined up, but the point is, here we are discussing the practical tips for you to overcome that fear of failure. For you to be able to do that, you will understand the benefits if you have to overcome. Now, some more benefits is you will also have a bouncing back ability. Building resilience by facing failure prepare you to bounce back for future setbacks also. Remember, I told you, once you have pierced through that, once you are able to attain that, reach that goal, whether or not it is perfect or not, but you're able to walk through that, right? That is what is piercing through that failure. You can refer that same experiences and be able to model in future setbacks. That is essentially called resilience building. You will be able to bounce back for the new or future setbacks. And for you to build resilience, it's going to be a daily activity. It's like a muscle. In fact, the skills that we are talking in this series is all like standalone, as well as it is a collective skill set. For you to attain a desired outcome, you just cannot take, for that matter, only resilience and work on it, or only adaptability and work on it. It has to be a combination of both. Even during the adaptability series, until yesterday, we are touching upon resilience, proactivity, emotional agility everywhere. And resilience is something that we, initially we started off with the series about 7 to 8 episodes we did on resilience itself. So we are talking about the first skill set in the 68th episode or 69th episode. You see how everything is a combination. So you will have to pick up all these elements based on what is required for your situation and work on it, for which you need to be working on these skill set on a daily basis, but a very small steps. So in this series, we're going to guide you to step by step how to manage your risk and how to take that small steps towards your larger goals. So then there is another skill set called innovation. You're going to foster that creativity and innovation by increasing out of box thinking. We also did good amount of episodes on innovation, creative thinking as well. You might as well want to go back and watch those episodes. By the way, if you still haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, do so, because you will be notified for the future notification. I'm also going to bring a lot of other series on emotional intelligence, and digital entrepreneurship. For digital entrepreneurs, so you might as well want to get hooked. And the same episodes are also being spoken. You can listen to this as a podcast if you want to subscribe to my Spotify channel. In essence, these are some key benefits in the interest of time. I'm also right now going to tell you what will happen if you overdo on it or if you don't have it. Now, when you overdo on it, by the time you want to strengthen this, or by the time you might feel, okay, this is something that I want to learn and improve, and you're starting to work on it. This is your brain muscle, right? When you're working on a skill set, actually what you're doing is you're rewiring your brain, because you're going to listen to that instructions, you're going to unlearn the previous ones, learn it, relearn it, and you're going to do it, right? It's called rewiring. So when you want to rewire your brain, you are actually feeding that brain with a new skill set and you're going to work on it. Making sure that you don't overdo on it. That means the more you get comfortable at one skill set, right? It could be tricky that it could be a strength in you, but the same strength could be derailing your focus, right? That is why you need to take constant review, whether it is serving your purpose or not. If it is not, then you might have to bring some awareness and see that where is the pull factor or push factor. You can determine the change in that element. Okay. So similarly, when you're overdoing on overcoming fear of failure, just because, okay, you're watching this episode and you got inspired and you start working on it, you're really getting good at it. Okay. Not every situation you need to overcome the fear of failure. Not every situation you need to walk past or pierce through. Maybe there's not need to walk there at all. That's not your job to do also. But because you're trying to work on it, your brain is so comfortable taking risk and risk, you're losing the sight of the logical data in it. That is why the assessing, reviewing, taking care of the progress is your logical brain. You remember when I started this episode, I told you it is important to be backed up by the logical data as well. As much as you work on your right brain, it is important to be backed up by the left brain. And as much as you're getting comfortable with your left brain, it is important to be backed up by the right brain. Okay. So when you overdo on this, it gives you emotional stress. Taking risk can lead to anxiety and emotional stress in uncertain situations, especially when you do not know what you're working on. Potential loss. There is always a possibility of failure and financial loss when taking risk. And then it also destroys the reputation, because repeated failures, just because you're too comfortable, your brain style needs that, that spark, that creativity, that thrill of you, that excitement that you want to, get during taking risk, should not jeopardize the goals, the people, in you, or your own, desired outcomes. So by the time you are venturing into it, you are experimenting into it without any success, it's only going to give you repeated failures. And that can damage your professional reputation or personal self-esteem. Maybe the process is dependent on you, the profits or the people are dependent on you. It's going to, impact others also. So you'll have to take care of it. Some more thing is over risking. Without careful calculation, some risk may be too high, leading to significant setbacks. You need not exercise your risk there. Your brain style could be so comfortable there, you're not able to, you become autopilot. It's going out of control, even if you don't like it. That is the reason you have to pick up the logical data at that point of time to give you that necessary validation. Hey, look, even though it is nice to take that risk, but the numbers doesn't show good. If you're a business entrepreneur, you might as well rely on the numbers. And if you're an individual, if you're a professional, at work, then your own professional goals will tell you. I mean, by the time you want to make a review quarterly or monthly or weekly, it'll give you the progress, the track records. And as an individual, it is even more trickier. We don't have any monitoring system, right? Especially as a full-time mom, we don't have anybody monitoring, or we don't have any systems to monitor what we are doing, right? It could be not at work, but even at home, for your personal life. There could be somebody who's watching this episode could be really good at taking risk. Hopefully, really, making sure that there's no firefighting in that person's life, because too many risk, that only means constantly they're fighting against adversities, right? My prayer is nobody should have that firefighting mode constantly, because it will only lead to exhaustion, burnout very, very quickly. But otherwise also, you by pattern, if you keep on taking risk, like it's become a gamble, right, in your mind, that you go and invite problems because you want that fire, that spark to happen, that excitement, that thrill to happen in you. That is a red flag. Okay. Second thing is uncertainty. When you're living with uncertainty, it can be mentally and emotionally challenging for risk adverse individuals, because already the brain doesn't like the change, and taking risk itself is one big uncomfortable stuffs. But that too, with uncertainty, it is even more mentally and emotionally exhausting for somebody who doesn't want to take that risk, right? But if you overdo on it, it could definitely be exhausting, right? Then comes, suppose you don't have this ability in you, that you cannot overcome the fear of failure. What's happening is you're going to miss out on opportunities for growth and success by avoiding necessary risk itself. What is needed, you won't take, because you're too hardwired that you don't want to get out of your comfort zone. You want to wait for that situation to get past, and then you just want to go back to normal. You don't want to take that risk. But benefit is, if you have this ability, you are going to help yourself to grow by taking that calculated risk and seizing that necessary opportunities, whatever comes, right? Now, examples of overcoming fear. It could be an entrepreneur launching a new product, potentially creating a game-changing opportunity. I always give example from pandemic, which was a real-time example for all of us to refer, because it just happened 2 years back. So we still haven't fully come out of the pandemic effect, because there are lined up pandemic impending, waiting for us. And the COVID hit, and all the industries, whether it is corporates or business, small or big, everybody got hit across planet. Nobody had precedented this kind of event. So we were put individually also, we were in so much of loss, and business wise also we were in loss. So on that note, whoever was able to adapt to the new technology and embrace that changes, they flourished. In fact, a lot of new ideas got kicked in, and a lot of industry, evolved and flourished. So they were able to sustain that adaptability cycle. But people who couldn't, they perished. Okay. So that is important. And that is why in the previous episodes, we spoke a whole lot of episodes on adaptability, flexible mindset, and all that. I would highly recommend you to go through that. Public speaking, it could be a first, fear, number one fear. It's a terrorizing experience for somebody who has a stage fear, and people, publicity or light on them, spotlighting, all that is a big time fear, right? So professional overcoming the fear of public speaking can open new career opportunity. You never know, maybe they are really very good. In my case, in my real example, I was totally I'm actually an ambivert, but I believed that I was an introvert until such time where I really was thrown onto the stage for the very first time during my career. I never, ever went on to stage, even for receiving any certificates or any prizes. I don't, I really shy. So not that I'm scared, but it was something more than, you know, uh, whether it was a fear or something, but I never wanted to do it. But for somebody, it could be a clear-cut no. They get traumatized, they sweat a lot, they even panic. Okay. But in my case, the moment I went into it, I was thrown into a spotlight. And then the second time, third time, I got really comfortable. But people are there where they get traumatized, they get terrorized when they are put into the spotlight. So you need to see how to overcome that. Maybe they can be given a small audience to work on them, or maybe sometimes they can overcome the shyness by using one-on-one with the on the camera. They don't need anybody also. They can just do a trial. That's how we all came across our fear doing these lives, videos, and interacting with the people on Zoom. So it for all of us, it was a in the beginning, everything is terrorizing, but it comes only with practice by managing and taking a very small steps to be able to manage that fear. Okay. Statistically, also, entrepreneurs who overcame fear of failure, 30% they were more likely to succeed. Okay. Then, who is it relevant for? Entrepreneurs, of course, who are taking that bold steps towards business success, because constantly they have to be dealing with changes endlessly, whether it is in the market turndowns or economic turndowns or customer turndowns or customer constant, expectations or the market trends or pivoting to a new strategies based on the competitors' data. So a lot of changes, lot even regulation, government regulation, sometimes even catastrophic events, business continuity can hit, and sustainability also. We need to take care of the environment and how are we, contributing to that cause. So many things that as an entrepreneur we have to take care. So it is important to overcome the fear of failure there. And professionals who are navigating career transitions, taking high stake decisions, students who are taking risk in academic and career pursuits. Absolutely. Even for students, moving from one stage to another, elementary, mid school, high school, career advancement, admissions, it's very highly competitive. And, by the time the child wants to really grow, even the AI is disrupting. Right now, we are just very mindful of how the industry is getting changed, especially the education industry is going to get reformed based on the technological advancement. Accordingly, the student has to really seek through. So there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear of losing out. So we need to be able to equip them with emotional intelligence skills. And parents who are leaning to let go of control, allow children to explore risk, that is also there. One, they're also growing, and as a parent, we have to let go and be evolving. Parenting itself is an evolving stage as per the life stages and then as per the growth of the child, and also be able to be resourceful to what is demanded, what is needed in the market, and how are we matching our kids' potential and the growth based on what is happening in the market. So we got to be really, be resourceful and equipped with a lot of skill set to be able to overcome the fear of failure. Because fear of failure could be something which could be proudly told, but then it's more of a need of the hour. And there could be a lot of, ways that a person can fail, and that will hit their self-esteem, confidence, if it is going to be repeated. So it is not a proudful thing to be able to overcome the fear of failure. In fact, it is much more needed. It's like become a survival need. Okay. Now let's talk about where are you going to apply this overcoming fear. Of course, it is entrepreneurship firstly, identifying the opportunities. There could be many ways, but essentially three ways. Okay, you're going to remember this. One, you're going to identify opportunities, recognize potential in new business venture or innovation. First of all, as I always say, find the need. If there is no need, you don't have to even risk it. That is the biggest risk you can take without even assessing the need. So you got to go full 360 to 360 angle, degree angle to finish that assessment and then be able to take that calculated risk. In the previous episode, we have spoken enough good about strategies about logical brain, how it is going to help you assess and then take that calculated risk. Once you clearly know, once you have the necessary validation of both logical and the emotional data, you're going to take that risk, analyzing the potential rewards which is going to come from the future and challenges also. Potential drawbacks also is something that you need to be aware of it and then be able to take action. So overcoming fear and implementing the business plan and or innovation is very, very important by taking action. If you don't take action, that only means you're still in the fear. So by evaluating, the risk doesn't end there. You need to take action to be able to fear through. Sometimes you don't have to evaluate, you just jump and learn from it. But as a business person, it is important to have that calculated risk to be able to assess before you jump in. Okay. Then in career growth, you're going to first of all identify. Everywhere identification is important. Recognize the desired career change, promotion, or leadership role. Then address the fear there. Go to the root cause. Usually, there'll be one emotion, strong emotion, which is giving you that fear. In the previous episodes, we saw how to, especially in the episodes on emotional agility, empathy building, and of course, empathy building can tell you good enough strategies on how to go and assess the root cause. And of course, there are logical, components episode. When we are talking about proactivity or problem solving, that can also give you some logical strategies. So addressing the fear, which can confront imposter syndrome or any career related risk, can also help you. Take action again, everywhere taking action. So first of all, identifying, addressing the root cause, and then be able to take action. Once you are addressing you see, for example, if the child has a fear, okay, the child doesn't get a uh, good marks. So that will be your, always remember it as an iceberg. So when you're addressing the fear, imagine that as an iceberg. So one is on the top level, another one is on the tip of the iceberg. So you need to go down deeper to use any five eye techniques, or simple as five eye techniques. Ask yourself why. Because they are not getting marks, and because of what? And then you will understand because of what. So there, when you go deep dive into it, you will find that emotional impact. So that is where you're going to, offer the emotional understanding. Because offering the understanding of not getting success is logical approach, but you are going to find the root cause of it and be able to understand the impact it has created. That is called emotional understanding. You're building that emotional awareness. So if you can offer that support to your child, then with that confidence, with that reassurance, they're going to come up beautifully well. So the surface problem could be logical problem that can be taken care. But the deeper problem lies with identifying that core emotion which is disturbing. It could be with the student, it could mostly be the fear of examinations or the fear of failures via exams or peer pressure or losing opportunities. So we need to find out what is stopping them, right? Then overcoming fear in relationship is another angle that I would like to cover, because it is also important that when we deal with people, a very important relationship is spouse. When you have peace at home, you can do a lot of lot of things that you can reach your potential. In fact, when they say, um, I in the previous episodes we have spoken about case studies like Indra Nooyi and many women successful leaders. So their backbone has always been family. With that kind of emotional reassurance, I know if you're watching this and if you're a career mom, I know for sure you will watch for this 100% that we can do wonders when we have things at home peaceful. Similarly, for men who have been successful in their career, that only shows their family is being taken care and they have a peaceful relationship at home. So again, when we are talking about relationship, it is supposed to be dealing with emotions, right? Maybe it can be backed by logical data to be able to wisely take a call. There has to be a backed up data, but in order to resolve or address the issue, there is always an emotion behind it. So you're going to identify that fear, that emotion behind that fear. Recognize the fear of vulnerability and conflict in relationship first of all, and then have a open communication. Always open communication will be the key factor for resolving any kind of conflict, whether it is geopolitics or it is small time conflicts within your friends or with your spouse or within family or at work. Open communication definitely works. Okay. Overcoming fear by expressing emotions and addressing issues openly definitely work with a trusted people. But when I say geopolitics, I just said as an example that, sometimes it really works if you can articulate it, and if you can have a backup of your people support based on which we can move bigger things. Like that's how movements have happened, right? Imagine non-violence movement from Gandhi. It was it was a core emotion, the freedom, that fight for their people, that was backed up by the people's support, right? It shook up the entire country, right? So, open communication, not necessarily only verbally, there could be non-verbal communication, non-violence. Gandhi, most of the time, Mahatma Gandhi, nation of the India's nation, father of the nation, has used the non-violence, non-verbal communication very powerfully. Similarly, we can do a lot of things using our open communication, whether it is verbal or non-verbal, in our relationship. Then you can strengthen the bonds. You can build stronger and meaningful relationship through emotional openness. There are two kinds of openness. Now, everything in this episode, by the time you complete this 100 episode, I want you to dissect your life, or I want you to approach your life problems logically and emotionally. There is always two sides to it, and two more components, like one is self and for others. Emotional intelligence is not always for others, it is also for us. So logical, emotional, and self and others are something that you have to be remembering this. Okay, so if you can remember this, and if you can dissect your problems like this and be able to arrive at a solution, then that's a totally a win for me to be able to do this 100 episodes. Okay, right. And then overcoming fear in personal development as well. There also you're going to identify the goal. First of all, there should be a goal, destination for you to reach, and you're going to identify the need for that fear, for overcoming that fear. You're going to choose, if your goal is to choose a new skill, a hobby, or personal goal to pursue something, then you're going to identify that skill, what you need. So if you're clear with your goal, then you can identify all that metrics like skill or hobby or values or uh, maybe associations, whatever it is. But if you cannot identify a goal, then you're just walking in uncertainties all the time. That's not a place to be able to overcome the fear. You will constantly be in fear only. Then comes, if a person who has a goal, you will be able to identify the areas where you can fill in. Then you can face the fear courageously. Confronting the fear of failure and inadequacy in the chosen area becomes a logical step, next logical step. You'll be able to easily identify the filling gaps. Then you're going to take action. Remember, always it has to end with an action. Otherwise, you cannot overcome the fear. Okay? You're going to begin that learning or practicing, embracing the learning process. Then overcoming fear in parenting. You're going to recognize the fear, first of all. Identify the fear of letting children face challenges or potential disappointments. So it could be anything comes to parents, right? One, they may get hurt physically or mentally. That is our fear. Second thing is they may get lost. They might get into some bad associations or bad way. That is our fear, and we don't want them to do that mistake. Maybe that's a peer pressure for us, that image destruction for us. There could be many things. Okay, or you might simply by your own patterns, you simply want to monitor. Some parents are like that. They become an helicopter parent, not because they want to do it, but see, sometimes the stress in the parents also being shown in their parenting style. How many of you can agree this? Our own stress, our own fears will be displayed in our behaviors, and that will be impacting our child also. It gets easily displayed on our parenting. So we need to find out whether it's the fear on the child or the fear that we are handling our own selves. In many times we can get mixed up. So either ways, you're going to recognize that fear and address it, whether the fear in the child or from you. Then you're going to allow that independence. Overcome that fear by giving your child opportunities to explore and learn independently. Thereby, you're fostering growth, supporting children's resilience and personal development through calculated risk. Now it's an interesting part. I'm going to give you shortcuts, 5 brain hacks you can use to activate your left brain, right brain, or midbrain. For you to be able to overcome the fear of failure, I'm going to give you some hacks. Let's see what are those. The first hack is for your right brain. All you're going to do is reframe failure as learning. The moment you see every obstacle as an opportunity, I mean, it doesn't happen in an weekend, okay? Somebody who's pessimist or who's having tough time to believe. For them, it's going to be really tough time. Immediately, they cannot reframe, but it has to come as a daily practice. How you do? First, insight. View setbacks as opportunity for valuable insights and growth. Okay? It is, there is nothing to be, what do you call? There is no, this itself, it's a tool. It's a mental activity. You're going to view that as a setback. You can imagine negativity, right? And so it will be easy for you to imagine the positivity also. Just like how your brain is imagining the negatives only, why can't you allow your brain to imagine what if it happens? Then you're going to solve the problem. So you're going to see failures as puzzles to solve, enhancing problem solving skills. You're going to, if you're a logically driven person, you may not be able to have this. That is why it is called right brain activity. You're going to activate this. Now, the logical brain actually wants to solve problem. Usually that's how it is. But in the brain style, there could be somebody who's ready to solve the problem, but they are sitting on the fence to decide, right? Because they are too much of evaluating risk. A person who's ready and diving into action is a problem solver, which is why it is called a right brain. So you need to be able to activate this, for which you need to plunge into action solving. Then you can identify the progress, recognizing each failure as a step towards eventual success, provided you must have taken action on it. Only then you can progress, review your own track records. Otherwise, it already you're failed if you're not taking action. All right. The next one is left brain attitude. So somebody who's in the right brain, approach, they might want to use this left brain because it's very, very important to break the complexity in your brain. How you're going to do it is start with small risks. That's your left brain, okay? So somebody with left brain already, it is easy for you because anyway, that's how you do evaluating risk. People always, they think a lot and they can take a small step because you're going to identify one small task which is manageable for you to build that confidence in you so that next step you can take. Slowly you can move forward. And that's how you take action also. So you're going to implement that small risk and focus on the problem. And thereby, you can also reflect and learn. The moment you are able to have this self reflection, also, it's again a skill set. If you can have that skill set in you, then it is easy for you to analyze and be sure, okay, it's still working for us. So we might as well want to take one more step. So you're going to review again on your own progress and apply that lessons for future risk. Then another right brain component is you're going to visualize that success. Okay. For a logical brain, to visualize without any validation, it's difficult. But I want you to do that because sometimes if you just apply the formula, it works. If it is work for somebody, it will definitely work for you. But you need to allow your logic to break down there and be able to apply it simply. You're going to mentally rehearse it. Because anyway, see, I want to let you know a brain which is logical is still evaluating, can imagine the risk very well. Why can't they imagine the success? Simple. So what you're going to do is you're going to have a mental rehearsal. Imagine successful outcomes in detail to reduce that fear and anxiety. That only give you some preparedness. You're at least been aware. You're been prepared for it. So you see sometimes it becomes an informed decision also, informed risk, because you're mentally having a picture of it. And what if the outcomes has happened based on your own picturizing? It's going to give you that mastery experiences as well. So you're going to apply the same thing for future things. So the moment you take one step, it'll definitely help you for the next step. And you can also use positive affirmation. You're going to use positive self-talk to boost confidence and reduce negative thoughts. And thereby you can also use emotional connection. Because we're talking about the emotional brain, you need to tap into that emotional effect of it. As much as you want to validate with logical data like numbers, facts, figures, all that, it is also that we need to consider the emotional brain. There's some energy in it, there's some vibes in it, there's some warmth in it. You can use your senses to feel that energy. You're going to connect emotionally with that visualized success to increase motivation. And this is a trend right now to talk about law of manifestation, law of attraction, and all that. They are effectively using this visualization techniques. So we might as well want to capitalize this. Creating a backup plan. That's again your left brain because that's how your brain works, right? Typically, as a mother, we always have a backup plan. We know exactly a potential fallback, and then we know how to deal with it. So we are equipped with that, right? So you're going to identify the risk there, identifying the potential setbacks or failures in your primary plan, develop alternatives. We're going to create all that options and implement with confidence. You're going to move forward with reduced fear. So it's already in us. So this could be in us already as a mom. But for somebody who cannot think through, they will have to be able to create alternative plans. It is a sort of preparation to be able to, navigate the uncertainties. That's how, see, all these things will add up to your fear. So we are breaking down the complexity of building that fear. That way, that major fear, we will not arrive at the major fear. We must have eradicated in the small steps itself. Then seeking support and feedback. This is your both the brain activity. Okay. So have mentorship, seek guidance from experienced mentors when facing challenging decisions. You might have your own trusted people from your family, from your elders, from your neighbors, from your boss, from your coaches, or hire a professional coaches, consultants, counselors who can give you that kind of an expert advice. It could be for any walks of life. It could be for your relationship, for your fitness, for your finance, for your health, for your business. Ideally, it is important to have for all the dimension. Okay. And peer support. Discuss this risk with trusted peers to gain that different perspectives. It is important to have that kind of a network, close associations who have walked the path or who is in the similar line of thinking for yourself, like-minded people. So they are going to have common problems. So that way you will know what are the other options that you can work on and get some constructive feedback. Actively seek and apply feedback for your immediate to improve your approach. Now, this is my favorite part. This is where we are going to be discussing about a case study, a famous personality who has walked the path and who has displayed that ability in them and been successful in their line of business. And it is none other than Steve Jobs, because Steve Jobs can be taken as an example for a lot of skill set that we have been discussing. He's my favorite. I look upon him for a lot of things. He has left a legacy of business model. The very tagline of Apple itself says, think differently. That means they are always ready to pierce through that fear. They are ready to, walk through that uncertainty, innovate and creative solutions there. So that way, his Steve Jobs quote is always like, he wants to put a dent in the universe itself, right? Stepping out of our comfort zone itself is something terrorizing for a lot of us, right? But he's going out all out there to work on uncertainties. And how has he been successful? It is very interesting to understand that co-founded, Steve Jobs, having co-founded Apple, he is known for taking risks to innovative technology, especially for technology. And then, of course, he had his own setbacks, personally, professionally. He had been fired from his own company. Imagine that kind of adversities. He had ousted from Apple and then faced a public adversities as well, public failure. He had to prove himself at a lot of points. And what has helped him is resilience. So building the next to and Pixar, overcoming the fear of failure, has been the milestones that he had achieved. It's created history, and after which Apple came. You see, resilience gives you the necessary feedback, right? It gives you constantly, it gives you that feedback and it helps you bounce back to be able to face that fear constantly. And very, very important in this day and age to have resilience, adaptability. In fact, everything is important. Critical thinking is important. You just cannot jump into action without having to assess that ability to be able to critically think. Is it really needed? Is it really needed by you? Or can you just, allow anybody else to do? So many times, even parenting comes with these complexities that we think, we cannot even outsource, delegate our kitchen work, right? Or we don't want to outsource our parenting work to our spouse also, because we are stuck in that perfection syndrome. We think that we are needed in that situation all the time. Sometimes they can be at peace. They may grow and evolve without our, hands on it. So that is how a leader should be. A leader should be able to, lead the way, not individually, but you have to let the team lead the way. You have to equip the team to be able to lead the way. And that's what he has also made it. And that is how the legacy of the Apple is still maintained. And if you're still wondering how you can learn the resilience building, I have a link given in the descriptions. It's a reward for you, especially for women who are watching this. There is a gamified version of 21 days resilience building challenge for women. There are mothers who are busy, career moms and full-time moms who have gone through this. So it'll be a nice, interactive and like-minded group accountability as much as you're able to build your own individual resilience for 21 days. So there's a link given below, but I want you to just hang on till this episode end, because I'm going to give you a reward how to make use of that 21 days challenge free of cost. Okay, just hang in there. Now, coming back to Apple, we are going to learn how Steve Jobs had approached risk taking. So his left brain would have enabled him to strategically take that risk by using the setbacks as opportunities and take that calculated risk, leading to revolutionary products. So now use the keywords here: setbacks. Use the setbacks as opportunities, taking that calculated risk, considering the current barriers as much as the future needs. There has to be a match. There has to be a marriage always. That is why I say taking the blend of logical and emotional brain is very, very important at each stage, whether it is decision making in your work or in your family, in your daily life, or in your finances, everywhere it is important. And then while you're in this journey, that is also important to have that stickiness in your journey, right? Because you just cannot keep on changing. In the latest previous episodes, we saw how adaptability could be a overkill if you overdo on it. If you keep on changing your strategies just because you have the strength of adaptability in you, if you become overly flexible, it's going to disturb the process, disturb you, emotionally exhaust. And that is why you need to have that emotional resilience also. You need to be able to bounce back and be stuck with that process, persistently, to be able to see that results coming out of it. Okay. Overcoming emotional toll. See, on the process of working towards uncertainties or innovating something new, there could be many things. Life can take over also. That is why it is important to have the buffer always. 80% you work on your 100% goals, but 20% you always give a buffer for a life to, play its role, because you are supposed bound to be expecting the uncertainty to happen, adversities. I'm not, I'm not saying everybody should have adversity, but you will have to let the life go. Otherwise, you get stuck in the perfection syndrome. You may not even expect something going to happen, and when it is going to hit you, it's going to hit you very hard. So it is needed to be preparing ourselves for the potential challenges, and accordingly handle the current barriers and work towards the future. So that is why resilience is also important. You're going to use that overcoming that emotional toll. Of course, in this case, he has overcome that emotional toll of public adversities, using that as a fuel to innovate. That is brilliance. It takes a lot of focus, a lot of courage, a lot of conviction in a person to prove themselves in the midst of that emotional toll, right? When his own company had fired him, and when there's a lot of public, adversities happening, his reputation is spoiled. Despite of it, people in his team is not being able to trust. So he has to build the trust, get that brilliance out of him, despite of handling a lot of personal and professional adversities. Seeping through that uncertainties at that point of time does take a lot of effort. But when a person is able to adapt quickly, using these skill set as a hack, then it is easier to. That is why I always intrigued to understand their brain styles. So once we know the shortcuts, the hacks, then we just have to apply to see whether it's working for us or not. Another thing is visionary leadership. Entire tech world got reshaped, right? It got revolutionized because of Apple products. So he has got into some freshness in the market, in the technology, right? If you have been working on Mac, Apple products, you will definitely vouch for it. There's something different about it, right? That's why, I got stuck with Apple products and I got into this ecosystem very, very easily. But initially, when I want to transition from the other software to this, it has its own learning curve. But again, with adaptability, it is possible to use these products. But as a leader, he had been able to articulate his ideas, his brain, his vision into his products. And that's why It is called smart risk taking. Okay. So at this point of time, if you have questions like how are you viewing your failure as a learning opportunity or not? Have you been comfortable taking small steps, manageable risk? Do you even visualize to take reduce your fear? How well do you prepare backing up plans when taking risk? If you have all these questions, don't worry. I also have the same questions. I'm sure anybody who's on the path of growth will definitely have these questions in their mind. They want to know whether they already have this, strength in them, and if not, how will they develop? Of course, these episodes will give you that necessary awareness and insights. I'm also going to give you a tool called EQ quiz bundles, especially to be able to answer these questions, and many more questions will be attached there. So it's a typical self-assessment questionnaire which comes to you onto your email ID when you register in the link given below. So when the questionnaire comes with you, it has its own options, and you click the right option, it's going to give you a score. If not, it is also going to tell you what are the tips to improve that area of development. And it is also going to give you such quizzes for all the 100 episodes. So you can take this quiz for every angle that we are discussing. For example, when you're taking risk, we just spoke about overall risk taking. Tomorrow we might angle to only parent or a leader or an entrepreneur. We'll see how we can develop that. So if you are an entrepreneur, you might want to take that episode, questionnaire, and also this, or you may be a parent also. You might want to dwell on other risk, questionnaire as well. So by doing so, you're going to get an insight of all the 100 episodes that we have been discussing. So it's going to be a treasure by itself. You can access that anytime, lifetime, any number of times. But it is out there for a cost. But I'm going to give it to you free of cost if you can register your top 3 insights as comments below. When I see your comments, all I need your email ID, and then I will give you 100% free coupon code for you to access. But I want you to also register it. By the time it is ready, you can access that. So the first thing that you will do is give me comments of what have you learned in this, or if you have something to share it with us, that will also be taken as a winning comment. Okay. With that, I'm going to give you 2 rewards. One is an lifetime access for all the 100 quiz bundles. Second, 21 days challenges for, 21 days resilience building challenge for women. With this, I have open sources. You can use my YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed to it yet. And then there's a podcast coming on Spotify. Subscribe to that as well. And Instagram Reels are there. Substack articles are there. LinkedIn. So there are open sources for everybody to make use of it, learning and growing. But you need to remember, you need to take action now. If you want to overcome that risk, and you should be able to take that action now. That only shows that you are willing to be able to see that fear and be able to overcome. But because fear is part of growth, you just cannot hide and run away from it forever, right? And and at the same time, it doesn't have to hold you back. You need to just understand what is the approach towards that. Now, in this episode, I've given you many approach. How do you approach, left brain, logically or emotionally, or using both the brains? And I also told you how you can, where and all you can apply. How do you overcome in various domains? So from this, when you learn to embrace failure as a teacher, and whatever risk comes to you on your way as an opportunity, as a stepping stone, then you can unlock your greatest potential. Okay. On that note, if you have enjoyed this episode, if you have resonated well with this, share your love and comments. That'll be an inspiration for me. And also share it with somebody who needed this encouragement to seep through some deep fear in them. So share it with somebody whom you know. And I'll see you in the next episode.